I'm Toby.
And I'm Savannah.
And this is Old Friends, Not Forgotten, from a certain point of view. Just so excited I can't even do the whole intro that time. It's currently like 4:50 in the morning. We just got done watching it. Right off the bat, the way this episode opens with a limited Lucasfilm limited production, the Clone Wars sound being even, just the intro with longer tune, the redness, and no words of wisdom. There was nothing. It just says Part 1, Old Friends, Not Forgotten. I mean, it never says the episode titles like that in any episode of the Clone Wars or Rebels.
This opened more like one of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it, like you were saying right before we started this film, or this video, it almost feels like this is going to be 4 episodes that are just going to feel like one long movie, like a prequel. So this is basically, what we're thinking is episode 3's Rogue One, as in Rogue One is to episode 4. This is episode 3's Rogue One. Like this, this had a completely feel than the entire new season, final season has had. And I'm going to put it up there with one of the best episodes of the Clone Wars of the entire series. I mean, this, and not just, all because it was everything that was brought up and brought back in. You got Anakin right away in the beginning, just that cockiness that we remember from the Clone Wars and from episode 3, that Anakin, that self-assurance that he's always had, that confidence, and just overall just that attitude of, hey, it's war, but he's having fun with it almost, a little bit, maybe a little too much fun. Because always this is where the fun begins. And the banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan again, it felt like we were watching our brothers again in this war that they were fighting together, and I liked it. Your complete helplessness really helped sell my surrender. I mean, it was hilarious. Everything, and then Cody wanting to join the battle. It made all those feelings of watching the Clone Wars that I grew up watching, it just made all that come back. This is what I was waiting for. This is what I wanted this whole season to be like. And the Bad Batch arc kind of met that a little bit with some of those, but at least they're finishing out very strong, especially with what the middle arc was.
There's just it's beyond a theory for me now. There's just zero doubt in my mind whatsoever that literally all Dave Filoni did for like however amount of time Disney gave him to make this season was focus on this. Like, it's like a film. Yeah. And it takes a lot of time and money and everything to make even an animated film. So you think about this episode was almost 30 minutes, so it's most likely going to end up being like a 2-hour film. And I swear, I'm telling you, he literally just spent all this time. Even look at even look at the difference visually. Like,
yeah,
the second it opened up. The second it opened up, I was like, the visuals are somehow better than they were last episode.
Right, yeah.
Like he literally spent all the time and money that they gave him. I swear that he spent all of it on this as the Rogue One for episode 3. Mm-hmm. Like, that is exactly what he focused all his effort on. So at this point, I just feel like the rest of the season, it wasn't even a concern. It was just like, shove these 2 crudely animated designs that I already have in there and just finish them up real quick. I need to focus everything on this.
It almost feels like it. So Disney probably wanted more episodes because they're like, we can't just give them 4 episodes and they'll be happy with that.
Right.
Totally would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
Especially if we would have made these episodes even longer.
Right.
And then you could have even gotten more from it. And like I said, I don't remember what video I said it in, but this show is going to end with Order 66. It's going to show us Order 66 from another point of view, which is what I've always wanted. See more clones fighting and struggling with Order 66, not see it just be like a switch for them, for all of them. There's got to be some that are going to fight it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Cody probably should have fought a little bit more in episode 3, but, Lucas really didn't have the time to do that, to show that in that movie, because movies just weren't 3 hours long back then. Even 2.5 hours was pushing it for a movie,
It's true. I almost make me wonder if they just wanted, like, the name recognition. They wanted it to be attached to Clone Wars to get people to, it's the Clone Wars, it's the last season, we'll watch it. Mm-hmm. Rather than, what I think they should have done, honestly, was release this as a 4-part miniseries. They should have just done that. I really feel, I would have, as a fan, I would have been like, fuck yeah, like that.
Right, yeah. It would have just been, you could have just called the epic conclusion to the Clone Wars.
Yeah, a
Like,
four-part,
this is
yeah, like a
four-part
four-part miniseries. And
This is it, you know?
maybe they were worried that they get too much backlash, or for only having 4 episodes or whatever. But I feel like most of us would have been like, yeah, no, we got this. It's fine. We're okay with it.
Even we probably would have speculated at the beginning, like, why are they only doing 4 episodes? We would have been disappointed and upset with it. But then we would have seen this first episode, and all that would have went away.
Yeah.
I mean, I could care less about all the Rafa and Trey stuff now, because this episode was just fantastic. It brought back, like I've been saying, it brought back everything with the Clone Wars. The respect for Ahsoka from the clones. We got to see the original trailer that we got for this Clone Wars was like over a year ago.
Yeah.
You hadn't even.
I hadn't even seen
She couldn't
Clone
even
Wars
watch
yet.
the trailer. I did the video with my buddy Landon, and how that trailer ends is with Anakin and Obi-Wan walking up and Ahsoka on the holoprojector, and it's like, we just got that now. This episode had so many of the trailer shots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what got everybody excited, was that shot alone, and it took them all this time to the 8th episode to get to it.
9th episode.
9th episode, yeah, sorry, to get to it, and that's like what, we saw that. That's all they showed. Otherwise, it was just the helmets of the clone troopers, and then an explosion, and then Clone Wars, and then boom, it was this. That was like all we saw.
Yeah.
And so to finally see that is freaking awesome. When Anakin's like, I got a surprise for you, I was like, oh, I hope it's the Rex and everybody, and it was. They painted their helmets for her. Then getting her lightsabers and then being both blue blades was awesome, because that goes to that Ahsoka's a protector like Anakin. That's, the blue is like, there's more, to the lightsaber. Each lightsaber has a meaning behind the color of it. And blue was as a guardian thing. It's a protector. Now there's more to it, obviously, too. I just don't want to get into it now. Also, because I don't always have it off the top of my head.
And it's also almost 5 in the morning.
Yeah, it is 5 in the morning still. So seeing that was awesome. Then him dividing, and I was like, okay, so cool. They're gonna go to Mandalore or something, and we're gonna see that. But no, instantaneously the alarms start blaring, and they're being called to Coruscant. It's happened. The attack on Coruscant has finally happened, and I liked the conversation between Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. They both made very good points. I feel like it. That's the capital. Where else is the army gonna go? That's where they need to protect. Coruscant is like, I think since like the Jedi Sith War has never been attacked really.
It's like the Washington D.C.
Yeah, nobody's really attacked Coruscant ever. It's too big. It's such a big planet, and to do a siege of that, it's a lot. Like as we saw in Episode 3, look at all the ships that were over Coruscant.
Yeah,
it was a massive campaign for the Separatists.
That's why when Episode 3 opens, you're just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. That's why Episode 3 opens the way it does, in a crazy awesome battle.
Yeah, the craziest.
So, and like you were saying before, possibly by the end of this episode, you got to think it's been at least more than an hour. So the attack on Coruscant has already probably ended, because once Obi-Wan and Anakin get there, he said they were an hour away. So let's give them an hour and a half to get there, get ready, and then join the battle. That's got to be the intro to Episode 3.
Yeah.
And once Anakin and Obi-Wan get there, the battle doesn't last too much longer. It's maybe another hour and a half.
So you assume if Ahsoka, if it's elapsed time and not real time, because that would be almost impossible. You would assume that by the end of this episode where Ahsoka meets Maul, it's also the end of the battle on Coruscant.
Oh yeah, I would say Dooku's been beheaded already.
Yeah.
And Grievous has already fled the Invisible Hand, and Anakin's probably even already landed the Invisible Hand. Part of it,
He's had another happy landing.
Yeah, the other happy landing. I would say that all that is probably ended by now.
Yeah.
And that's why we're not really going to be able to see any more of Anakin and Obi-Wan throughout the show, because of the massive campaigns that they are now running.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's going to Utapau. Anakin's his fall to the dark side is going even more, and that makes it. And it makes his fall to the dark side in Episode 3 even more, because now he's got all these feelings with Ahsoka. Right before all this happens.
Well, a lot of things. It's not even just Ahsoka. Like this is like that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see more of Anakin's fall to the dark side and what would have led to that. And that's kind of another frustration we were having, is we weren't seeing that we weren't even seeing him in the last, however many episodes.
Right.
And they showed so much so subtly in this one 30-minute episode, which he wasn't even entirely in. Mm-hmm. They showed the biggest thing I noticed was when Ahsoka landed, he's talking to Obi-Wan, and he's like, this explains it. This explains why she needed to leave, because she needed to be there. She needed to be in her place to find Maul. So he's like sitting there trying to justify it in his head. So you can tell that over however long it's been since he's seen Ahsoka, he's literally been fixating on it. Like, why? Why did this happen? And probably doubting the Force or doubting, the Jedi Order, whatever. And so he's trying to justify it in his head. Okay, this needed to happen so that she could find Maul. Like, he's trying to justify her leaving in his head still.
Well, and he kept her lightsabers. That's attachment.
Yeah.
Like, so that's something. So he's that's holding on heavy. And like I said, their goodbye on that ship, the good luck, and then him just saying nothing and kind of walking away. I feel like that's their last ever interaction.
Most likely.
Until Rebels, when he meets her as Darth Vader.
Yeah, and we could be wrong. We could see them together one more time briefly through like a hologram or something.
Yeah,
before this is all over. But we could be wrong. But I would be willing to put out there that that's their last interaction
ever. Until well, I guess not ever, because then she'll meet him again as Darth Vader.
But then as Anakin, that's their last interaction ever.
And it was just nice to see, Ahsoka calling the Jedi out, like, no, it looks like you're focusing more on politics.
Yeah.
And I get it, and I agree with her a lot. I just don't think in that situation it was, because, the Chancellor that's who they're going to protect. If they're going to be called away for anybody, it's going to be the Chancellor. But also, in this point, there's still 10,000 Jedi across the galaxy. Why couldn't somebody else go?
Exactly.
What if the Jedi had sent somebody else to rescue the Chancellor instead of Anakin and Obi-Wan? What if they put more... And that's another thing with the Jedi and the Council alone. They put a lot on Anakin, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, how much pressure Anakin was under. From the age of 9, you're being told you're the chosen one, that you're going to get... It's not even that you're just going to save a planet, or you're going to save a family, like, you're destined to do that. You're destined to save the entire galaxy. I wouldn't want that pressure now as a 30-year-old adult. I wouldn't want that kind of a pressure. Like, that's a lot to put on even a child. And then you're supposed to tell him he's not supposed to have it. How can you not have attachments to the things you're supposed to save? Like, maybe if the Jedi had a little bit more of that, Trace and Rafa would have been different, because Luminar, who I suspect is the one they talked to, wouldn't have been so cold to them.
Yeah.
And, distant, and would have been more in the moment. Like, I felt the Jedi should always be living in the moment. And they really don't. They kind of separate themselves from the moments in the rest of the galaxy. So if they hadn't put so much on Anakin, and you trusted other Jedi Masters and Padawans, maybe they would have saved the Chancellor, and Anakin wouldn't have been there. That whole, more of that fall to the dark side could have been prevented more, maybe.
Yeah, well, even, so you see when Bo Katan is in there talking to Obi-Wan, and she even, like, throws that at him. She's like, oh, I thought you cared about my sister. He murdered her. Well, don't you want to do something about it? You can see, it, like, goes straight to Anakin. It cuts straight to Anakin, and he's like, he has that look again.
Yeah.
Well, but he has that look again, like, okay, I want to know what happened there. I want to know what's going on, and everything. And,
Yeah, because I'm guessing Obi-Wan maybe didn't tell anybody about it. Or he probably told the Council, but they obviously didn't do anything because Mandalore got taken over by Maul anyways.
Right. Well, and I just, again, that's another moment where if Obi-Wan had just been willing to admit to his attachments that he had, then maybe Anakin would have felt more confident in the ones that he had to divulge that information and to share that with somebody.
More,
and
it's always hard to share something with somebody when you know they're gonna attack and judge. What
There's
you're
just
trying
so
to
many
say.
things like that are planting even more seeds to make him dark. Like his interactions with Ahsoka, weren't great up until the end because she was kind of like, we don't have time to talk about this. You're busy.
And he just wants to reconnect.
Yeah.
That was a big thing with him there. He wanted. It was almost like the theme of this whole season is to reconnect.
Yeah.
Disney wanted us to reconnect with the Clone Wars, so they did this. There's a very overarching theme of reconnecting in all these episodes.
And he kind of got to at the end there. They had a good moment. They had a good goodbye, if that is their goodbye.
Yep.
But he had that disappointment. You could kind of see him getting kind of worn down and sad throughout the episode until their goodbye when he finally cheered up a little bit. But you have between their issues and his doubt of the Jedi Order and of all that with Ahsoka, like why did she leave, and then having to justify it, and then his kind of look to Obi-Wan about the attachments and stuff. I mean, you can see those seeds of like what's driving him crazy essentially.
Right, yeah, and what's just gonna turn him to the dark side in the end, and then just Ahsoka, her jumping. I didn't bring you a jetpack. I don't need one. Her just racing Rex down to the planet surface was just crazy awesome.
Which the music in the background of that, if you notice, is from Rebels. The music is the same music when she and Vader are fighting in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same music, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, we heard the Binary Sunset a couple times in there.
Yeah, we hear so many different music themes, like more from the movies than we usually do. We hear some from Rebels. We hear the typical themes from the Clone Wars.
Seeing Gar Saxon.
Yeah.
Hearing Ursa, Sabine's mom. For a second there was a Mandalorian when they were going to looking at all the Maul ones. Of Mandalore, it looked like Sabine from back. I was like, it can't be Sabine. She's not even born yet. But I mean, then we see her mom, and her mom is helping Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
So I don't know if her mom is part of like the Maul Mandalore regime and is just helping him on the inside, or if she's on Mandalore on the outside. You know, kind of just trying to get intel. But so she's on the right side this time.
This time.
For now, so that's super interesting. And it just shows the care that they're bringing in characters that from other shows that we know, and that, you know, again, we don't even really need a backstory on or want more information on, but we're getting it, and they're doing it right, and it's being done just very well. It's Maul playing the long con like always. This was a trap. He set this up. He wanted all this to happen because he's trying to lure Obi-Wan again. But
he does so much. He does so much just to get their final battle every time. You know, he's.
And I almost wonder if. I mean, and you know, maybe this is going too far into it, but I mean, the Force is deep and connects and binds all things. What if Sidious planned all this? What if Sidious has somehow been working with Maul a little bit to do this and wants him to try to do this?
Well, the last we had seen Darth Maul, Sidious was there.
Yeah,
he just killed
Savage and that's the last time we ever saw Maul. Like, so Maul being back and open and free, running around, something's happened. Maybe
you'd think that
Sidious is kind of working with him again and is like, hey, I want you to do this. And Sidious like, I'll have you bring Obi-Wan. Maul thinking that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Sidious is also double-crossing Maul at the same time, but he does this so that he can help sow more seeds into Anakin and, you know, pull them away all of a sudden. And
well, he needed, maybe it's just even that he knew. I mean, obviously Palpatine would know that Ahsoka's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe he could sense it all in the Force, and he's like, okay, Grievous, you need to capture me now.
And then he would know that he needed Ahsoka to be somewhere else, because Ahsoka has a chance of keeping him on the light side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not because they have that bond and that attachment. She has a chance of keeping him on the light side, and she was flat out said that she knew about him and Padme, so she could have helped and kind of kept him from turning down that dark side, and she would have been like, he didn't. The biggest thing is he didn't have anybody to go to about Padme. He had nobody. He was cut off. He was isolated. The only person he could get help from was Palpatine, and he relied on that. He needed him to be the only person that he could trust in that moment.
Right, exactly.
So if he can trust in Ahsoka, that ruins his plans. He needs Ahsoka somewhere else.
Yeah, he needs to sever her, so he's got to keep her distracted. And I like that, so there was an original, like, Clone Wars, like, a little animated short, which you've never seen, but, and they explained, like, why Grievous wheezed and stuff. It was because Mace Windu squeezed his lungs, which obviously that's not what ended up happening. But also Shakti is helping guard the Chancellor. And they do the Siege of Coruscant. It was really interesting. I ended up, like, it was on Cartoon Network when it first aired. But it's fun to see that that they're mentioning Shakti, because I mean, we never actually see her in Episode 3 die, but she's in 2 deleted scenes for Episode 3 where she dies.
Yeah.
One is Grievous kills her on the Invisible Hand, which would make sense that maybe somehow they're escaping, she gets knocked out, Grievous captures her and Palpatine at the same time. And then, she kills Shakti in front of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And then in the other deleted scene, Anakin kills her in the Jedi Temple when he attacks that. So it's fun to see that that they're still keeping that part to it, that she is that she's the one protecting the Chancellor and everything. Just, again, all the little name dropping and just the little callbacks to everything that we've seen up to this point is, I mean, that's, it's always good to have nostalgia in your stuff, as long as it doesn't survive on just that.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's nostalgia at this point. It's just more backstory.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
more
connecting more things.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
Star
more
Wars is,
like you said, like we've said multiple times. It's like the Rogue One for Episode 3. It's the Rogue One connected the pieces of
Star Wars
what led to the rebellion
things.
and what led to Episode 4. This connects the pieces between the Clone Wars and Episode 3, and you don't think you wouldn't think you'd need that, because they are supposed to lead right into each other, but really there is so much more between the Clone Wars and Order 66 that they just
that they just didn't show in the movies. Yeah, I mean, wars don't just last a couple months. You know, wars last a while.
Yeah.
And
even with the war ending essentially at the beginning of episode 3, with the Clone Wars being done, even with that, you know, there's just so much more between that and Order 66 that we just don't even know about, you know.
Well, and then in the intro we get you know, the announcer going over what's going on and everything, and we see all the Jedi on the table. You got Master Dalaba and Kanan Jarrus, which is really Caleb Dune, standing there right there. So that was cool. We saw that in the trailer, so that's cool to see them finally right there. And actually, how they zoom in on those two.
I wonder if they're gonna show what happens. I mean, granted, they don't have all the time in the world here, but if they show the story of like what happens with his master.
Yeah, watching her protect him and give her life so he could run away to survive. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Those are the things that we want. Connect Clone Wars and Rebels even more together. I mean, first of all, cool to see that Rex got a promotion. He's commander. So he's at the time of episode 3. Him and Cody are both commanders.
Yep.
So they're even in level. And
and we know that Ahsoka's already using Fulcrum as her
that was
codename.
Cool to see that. And that it sounds like if I remember what we heard and what I saw because we always watch with subtitles on. It sounds like Anakin came up with the codename Fulcrum.
Which you'd think then that Darth Vader would be suspicious when she starts using Fulcrum. He'd be like, well...
especially with some of the novels that have been commissioned recently, like Darth Vader destroyed Anakin, and it's almost like he didn't just destroy Anakin, he even destroyed memories that Anakin had. So he locked it away in a compartment of his brain and just never let it out. Not all of them, obviously. I think that he always used the Padme rage and losing her to stay developed into the dark side. So the Fulcrum thing, that was cool to see that. I mean, again, you're connecting even more. You're giving it even more reason you're justifying having these shows. Because a lot of people are like, I shouldn't have to watch a show to get all this information. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's only so much you can do in any 2.5 hour movie. There's so much you can do in a 3 hour movie. You know? So, yeah, I mean, it was just, this episode was action-packed, it was story-driven, this is a galaxy-driven, I should say, more. This played a part into everything. I mean, I don't know what, I don't feel like there's anybody who can't like this episode or can't be happy with where the Clone Wars is going now.
Well, you'd be surprised. There are people who think Rebels is awful, so there are just people out there who will hate anything.
Yeah, to each their own. This episode was amazing. I want to go on the verge of saying it was flawless. I'm sure when I rewatch it, after I go back to bed and wake up again, that I might find something. But still, I just don't think I was. We were on, and there's a reason that we chose to do these last 4 episodes. We're gonna watch them right as they come out. We're gonna do the videos right away. Because I knew that they were going to be amazing. I knew that they were going to be exciting. I knew it was going to be something more than what I would not have been able to do these last 4 episodes at this early in the morning. I wouldn't have been able to get pull myself out of bed, out of a deep sleep, just to do that.
For the Trace and Rafa ones.
For the Trace and Rafa ones,
we didn't do getting up at 2 a.m. for the last 4 episodes because we didn't feel it. But for these ones, it's like
Yeah, and I'm glad we decided to, and I'm just very excited for the rest of the next 3 episodes. I hope they get longer. This one was 30 minutes longer, so the longest one yet of the season. Probably even the longest one of the whole series, which makes sense. This is the ending. This is our conclusion here. This is everything. This is, again, like you said, this is why they even brought Clone Wars back for this 4 episodes right here.
Episodes,
this is the only reason that this show came back, was this story needed to be told. Obviously, The Mandalorian, the TV show, helped with that. And seeing how much people actually want to know more about Mandalore and stuff, which fans have been fans of Boba Fett, who's not Mandalorian, but wears Mandalorian armor, since the 80s. So, we've been crying for Mandalore and more backstory on Mandalorian since then. It's like the one character my dad even wants backstory, and he hates getting backstory. He's like, I don't need backstory, we're fine, but he wants backstory on this stuff. This would have been a fun one to do a breakdown with. Maybe I'll go back and rewatch and we can put up another episode about even more of a breakdown of things I saw and noticed. But it's cool. We got so many trailer shots in here, and it was awesome. I'm so excited for next Friday. Can't wait. Can't come fast enough. Until next time, may the films be with you.